Golden Graces. It is such a beautiful day today, Thursday. Transformation tip Thursday. Bringing to you Reverend Doc D here, coming out of Southern California. Another day in paradise. Yeah, we got a kiss presentation for you today. And I can see my slideshow is cut up from the top. Pardon for that. It looked okay. Before we got started, the show must go on. Well, we're talking about holistic apiculture, beekeeping. And there's a cute girl right there with her flower getting some pollen. Brought to you by Mother Earth Reverence Farms and Ministries. We are a global effort in uplifting indigenous, sustainable blockchain agribusiness. So we're going to get into just a little bit of science. I am a scientist, so we want to get you started in this way, set the groundwork. Holistic beekeeping is also known as natural beekeeping. It's really a philosophy in practicing a whole being approach, prioritizing bees, their natural behaviors, health, well-being over the conventional commodification of intensive management that's currently taking place with bees. And their intensity is for, of course, high honey yields and their potential as pollinators. We want minimal human intervention. We want to avoid various chemical treatments. These are harming the bees, their immune systems, and we want to minimize disturbing the hive. So the key practices are foundationless frames. We'll go into some of those hive boxes here in a moment. And that allows the bees to create their comb in the way they want to, and to provide a consistent bee-friendly area so they can go to where they like to go, planting certain flora that they enjoy. They want to have a diversity of foraging. You know, bees can go up to 5 miles to get whatever they need. Water is important, of course. And we've already mentioned the limit of hive inspections, which is what a lot of beekeepers do. They're messing with them too often. And when you mess with them a lot, that's disruptive. And it causes stress to the bees. Okay, another fun slide here. So apiculture wellness is basically taking a proactive, preventative approach. We want to mimic natural conditions. We want to minimize intervention, absolutely no chemicals. And then we want to check out the queen. So overall bee wellness, everything is surrounding the queen as far as the bees go. So I did put in a little photo here of the queen. You can see what she looks like. She's a little bigger. Her abdomen is a little longer. So one of the first things we do when we actually do look in the hive is see how the queen is doing. Okay, so mimicking natural conditions. We want to provide bees with a living ecosystem that's close to natural habitat, such as native flora, the flowers they enjoy. Now, I will say, from a holistic standpoint, there are various flowers, herbs that tend to promote a healthy immunity. Lavender, eucalyptus, rosemary, these things. I would be planting these as well. Minimal intervention by beekeepers. Observe them, but also leave them alone as much as possible. Intervene only when necessary. No chemical treatments. Avoid pesticides, antibiotics, and other synthetic chemicals. We have to think about our surroundings. If you're an urban beekeeper, this is practically, you can't avoid it. Everybody's spraying. And when I go up and ask some of these sprayers, oh, it doesn't hurt the bees. Well, you don't see any bees around. You don't see any butterflies. We don't see any hummingbirds and our small songbirds. Why is this? The chemicals. So let's stop it, or at least bring it to a minimum. So it's important just to allow bees to naturally adapt to their local surroundings without the interference of chemicals. They can adapt to pests and disease and get stronger. Bee wellness. So we want to take a overall health, well-being, and wellness approach that also helps with the integrity of the colony. We want the strongest bees to survive, of course, and optimizing their immune systems. So there's different types of hive. Some people call them hive boxes. There's a top bar hive, horizontal hive, foundationless frames, bee friendly, and I forgot to put in here the flow hive. I'll be showing that a little bit later. The top bar hive offers a little more space for bees to build their own comb in the way they would naturally do it. So they're promoting their natural behavior and structure. Horizontal hives minimize disturbances by allowing access to frame from the side versus stacking the boxes on top. So I do mention it here, flow hive. This is something that has been revolutionary out of Australia, and it was created to provide minimal handling, and you can harvest the honey without even opening the hive. It is quite a price point, but there's really no disturbing of the bees. And for the foundationless frames, instead of using wax foundation, there's usually a pre-made pattern that conventional beekeepers use. You just use a small strip of wax and then let the bees build their own comb naturally. The bee-friendly environment, we've already spoke of it, where you want to plant a diverse range of Florida flowering plants, herbs, so there's a continuous food supply. And you can also provide a shallow water source. Some people do have areas where they keep a bird waterer and the bees tap into that. It's up to you. Be creative. They just need a safe landing. And we also want to make sure that in their hives there's good airflow and hive sun exposure. That prevents mold. Here's a top bar hive. And it's very simple. Most of the time, you see the conventional hive boxes that are stacked one on top of the other. And so this is a different approach. Top bar hive. Here's a horizontal hive. So really you need more to obtain the usual amount of honey that we expect from the typical conventional hive box. So one good colony or hive will contain about 50,000 bees. So your numbers may not be as high, but you'll have happy bees. Yes, that's what we want. Okay, here is the flow hive. Now this is very popular. We haven't secured one yet, but we intend to. I like this little window so you can see. This is great for young people as a teaching tool. And I do want to mention, since we're at this little window, that we've also chosen apiculture as one of the 5 animal production systems because they're relatively simple and easy to set up, and you can teach children to assist our young treasures. They can learn. So it's a great opportunity to have a family enterprise. You can see in the upper right, they have the little spouts. Basically, they're using gravity to harvest the honey. And there's a little spigot there. You can turn it off and on, and out runs your honey. You don't have to mess with the bees. That's great. But she does cost a little bit, little investment, I would say, little price point on that. But I would think it's worth it in the long run. But in the front end of things, you're going to pay a little bit. So we're going to talk about a little bit of, this one got cut off too, nurture-nourishment and research. Nurture-nourishment, I've made up this word, nutrition that's nourishing. Not all nutrition is nourishing. So that's the whole point of that languaging, is to ennoble nourishing nutrition. So we want to increase bee resilience and allowing bees to manage themselves, build their own immune systems. This way they become more resilient to diseases and pests over time. So many beekeepers are also involved with obtaining swarms. This is a way to genetically integrate strong bees. Okay, strong connection. Holistic beekeeping encourages a deeper connection and understanding between beekeeper and bees. So this is something that's very important today because right now, at this present moment with commercial beekeeping, we're treating bees like cattle. And this is really abhorrent to me because we're just using them, using their utility, particularly here in Southern California, to help pollinate the almond trees. And millions of bees are trucked in on 18-wheelers to help the almond tree growers pollinate the bees, their trees, pardon. And this is not good. in the long run because of how the bees are being treated. And so we want to ennoble more small scale beekeeping in our urban areas, community gardens, farmers markets, these places, because we need our pollinators. Yes, we do. So natural genetics. So that kind of leads me into talking about natural genetics. There's a simple practice that supports the propagation of naturally adapted and resilient genetics by allowing the weak colonies to fail. This is kind of what I was referring to when we talk about swarms, because we want the strongest to survive and reproduce. So swarms provide strong genetic pools. So keep that in mind. You intend to do some beekeeping yourself, to not be afraid. There's a methodology involved, and we can teach you how to do all of that. Natural bee nurture nourishment comes from a variety of pollen producing flora. They can obtain their protein, lipids, vitamins, and other essential nutrients. The nectar supplies carbohydrates, which are sugars, for energy. Water is crucial for bees' hydration, thermal regulation, and food preparation, like honey and royal jelly. Having a diverse floral landscape provides essential components for healthy bee colonies. So you just want to have a variety. I mentioned some herbs, native plants. I'm listing some here: bee balm, coneflower, asters, milkweed. And you can have some non-native herbs and flowers: borage, lavender, catmint, sunflowers. Sunflowers are very popular in many places. Zinnias provide abundant nectar and pollen. So pollen primarily is the protein powerhouse source, and nectar is the energy source, the carbohydrates, the sugars. Here's a genius of who I've been following for a moment, Paul Stamets. You can see how the bees, they love him, and we love him too. He's a mycologist, one of the premier global mycologists, and he has created a formula, a bee formula that supports bees with extracts from polypore mushrooms like Amadao, red-belted polypore, and metahorizum fungi. They help with improving immunity, reducing viral loads, helping with the control of the varroa mite, getting ready to show you that, and increase their longevity. This concoction is delivered with a special feeder called the bee mushroom feeder, and it fortifies the bees with a typical sugar syrup. And you add in these fungal extracts. And then on this lower visual, they combine it, and you can see the bees dipping themselves into that little concoction. It's probably mostly water, sugar water. The research indicates that these fungi act as a nutritional supplement, offering what they say is a 1-2 punch, boosting the bee's own immune system and providing a form of natural biocontrol against mites that varroa mite. So here's a few visuals of equipment, personal protective equipment, PPE, and just giving a nice visual of there's the old-fashioned conventional beekeeping. They're on the lower left. And for starters, beginners, we really want you to take precautionary measures. Some people are allergic to bee stings, and so you want to make sure you're protected. If you look at the lower right, this person is not covered up on the bottom. He got his head cover on. The thing about bees and stinging, they sting for a purpose. Once they sting you, they will die. So bees sometimes get confused with yellow jackets and other wasps. They can repeatedly sting you and not die. Bees, once they sting you, they die. Their body separates. The stinger separates from the body, the abdomen, and they die. So it's usually, if a bee stings you, you might have been swatting at it. It may have been attempting to get some pollen from a flower and you didn't see it. So this is also a good opportunity just to talk about having a Zen approach to be calm. So in the upper right, we see various tools. This is a funky looking smoker up here on the upper right, and various tools that are used to open the hive. It gets sticky in the glue, the propolis, kind of the waxy material. It keeps things insulated and closed off. So in order to open the hive, sometimes you gotta use a little tool to break through that to open it, and then a brush to brush the bees away. Anyway, I use lavender in the smoker. Lavender is calming. If you're in a big rush, that's not the time to mess with bees. They're very gentle creatures, and you don't want to be using erratic movements, and you want to be calm. I'll just say it that way. You want to be zen, deep breathing. They really teach us how to be in zen and deep breathing. That's so important. And for beekeepers who've been doing it a while, like this person on the lower right, he's not wearing anything. And you talk to him, hello girls, how you doing? And be nice and gentle with them. If you're in a big hurry, you need to go away and come back. Calm down. Mm-hmm. Well, the person at the top, they're fully protected. Looks like a flow hive back there, I think. But they've got their gloves and their white suits. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's look at this parasite, the varroa mite. In the upper visual here, you see that it kind of looks like a tick. It's really considered an ectoparasite. It's on the outside. Ecto means out, outside, external. And it does decrease the immune system. And there are various chemicals that can be obtained to help get rid of these mites. But I like if we can utilize the confectioner sugar first to see, they call it the sugar test, sugar shake test to see how intense the infection is in the hive before we start pouring a whole bunch of other stuff in there. Yeah, the sugar dislodges them from the bees. So you do want to take an assessment to see how intense this infection is in the hive. And as I said, I use a lavender smoker. Eucalyptus is nice, clove, and also planting these plants will help support the immune system. But we do want to get rid of these mites because it does affect, obviously, the bee's ability to obtain pollen. So as I said, this is a kisses presentation. Keep it super simple, educational, and a little bit silly. Honey bees and other animal pollinators are responsible for pollinating about 1/3 of the world's food crops, meaning one of every 3 bites of food that we eat, it comes from pollination. So honeybees are vital for crops. I already mentioned the almond farmers, apples, melons, and so much more. We want to really be about uplifting our pollinators. Bees aren't the only ones. I mentioned butterflies, there are beetles, dragonflies, your hummingbirds, your songbirds. There's so many. And the utilization of some of these chemicals that we're spraying on our yards are basically slowly killing them. And we just need to be mindful of that and find other ways to deal with the concerns that we have and not keep spreading all these chemicals everywhere. So for those of us here in Southern California, Orange County, we have an Orange County beekeepers group. So I put the link here, if you will, and you can check us out there. And basically, you can get on Dr. Google and find some folks near you. Beekeepers are so friendly. They would love to share. I mean, I haven't met anyone that's not willing to share their expertise wherever you are on the planet. Yes. So you're also welcome to come and join us. We're going to be at the Orange County Farm Supply. They're having a harvest festival this coming Saturday, the 27th of September, from 10 to 2. And I will be there. We do consultations and we take in questions. You can take a screenshot of this. Here's the phone number, email, reach out. We'll answer questions to our very best ability. We thank you so much for being with us today. We want to pray out and just say thank you. Gracias. Muchísimas gracias. Arigato. Kamsahamnida. Asante sanas. May we continue to be guided, gifted, and governed by spirit, one love, one wellness. And let us continue to uplift one another in our cooperative, connected lives ecologically, economically, and so it is. Ashe, Shalom, Amen. Salut.